Welcome to Persistent Purpose with MJ Hunter. I am your host, Coach MJ. I am a speaker. I'm an emerging author. I'm a success coach, an event producer, and a serial entrepreneur. And I'm so glad to be back with you for another amazing episode. Today, we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is mental health struggles that are experienced and suffered through in silence by entrepreneurs. So if you are an entrepreneur, or even if you love an entrepreneur, be sure to save this episode, share this episode, come back to it over and over, because this is a topic that really needs to be delved into because it's not talked about enough, in my opinion. If you are a Persistent Purpose subscriber, welcome back. And if you are new, welcome to the family. Go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our episodes. So like I said, we're going to be talking about real talk about 7 entrepreneurial mental health struggles. Mental health, as I posted on my Facebook page the other day, is the mental health struggles, and not only mental health struggles, but daily mental health struggles are the soft white underbelly of entrepreneurship. It is that sensitive area that we don't talk about a lot. I have been guilty of keeping things bottled up, keeping things inside, not talking about it because I didn't think anybody understood. But what I'm learning now, what I have learned, is that there are actionable ways that you can defeat these mental health struggles when they come up, because they are normal, they should be expected, and they are temporary. But they are real and they can affect your ability to succeed in your business. And so I want to give you some tools, some actionable strategies that you can use to combat these mental health struggles. They are not unique to entrepreneurship, although often the way they show up for entrepreneurs is slightly different from the way they show up for people that maybe have a job or people who might not be working at all. So we're not saying that entrepreneurs are the only people that struggle with this. We're just talking about what we're talking about, right? Mental health struggles. So let's get into it. The first one is imposter syndrome, where you feel like a fraud or you doubt your abilities even when you're successful. This is so huge because it seems like the most capable people, the most talented people, the people with the most to share with the world, the people that have the most talents, the most gifts, the most intellect, or just the most great ideas are the ones that say, am I good enough? Have you ever, comment in the chat if you've ever said, am I good enough? What, no one would pay me for what I do or for what I know. And when you feel like you're a fraud and you doubt your abilities, it can often stop you from taking action. So one of the strategies that I love, and I'm not always good about doing this, but when I do it, I'm always glad. When I'm in that habit, I'm always glad about keeping a success journal, or what I call a greatness gallery. A greatness gallery is where you write down all the times in your life where you were successful, not just recently, but in the distant past. It doesn't have to be anything major. It doesn't have to be some huge accomplishment. It just needs to be something that you accomplished. Learning how to ride a bike, learning how to read. For me, being valedictorian of my 8th grade class, graduating 27 out of 431 of my high school class, learning how to read at the age of 3, speaking on the radio. I recited the Lord's Prayer on the radio at the age of 6. Those are things from my distant past, but they are all indicators that I'm a success. Then I can talk about, the success of my coaching business and launching that, and, raising my children, whatever those things are, write those down. And sometimes we feel like we don't deserve to celebrate. We don't deserve to write down our successes, but you're not going to have the fortitude within to keep pushing through challenging times if you are doubting your abilities because you're not looking at all the times when you have been capable. Treat yourself like you would a friend. If you had a friend that was struggling with mental health challenges, what would you say to him or her? And then say that to yourself. And don't wait for your friends to come along to affirm you. The gospel song says sometimes you have to encourage yourself. I add to it, not all the time. All the time you need to encourage yourself first. Don't wait for somebody else to do it for you. So treat yourself like a friend. Write in that success journal and read it back to yourself on those challenging days. Another thing is to focus on growth over perfectionism, or over perfection rather. The mistakes that you make, they are part of the process. This idea, that cliche of get it right the first time, that is so damaging. I wish that no one had ever coined that phrase. It's impossible to get something right the first time that you do it. You might just, I don't like to use the word luck, but you might accidentally get it right, but you can't say it's because of the things you did to prepare. You can give yourself the best chance for success, but you can't know what right is for you in that situation until you've actually finished it and look back and say, okay, that worked. Here's what we can change for next time. The idea of getting it right the first time, throw it out the window. Say, do your best at all times. Show up with excellence. Show up in a way that is your best with the best tools and resources and perspective that you have. And don't worry about getting it right. And then also talking to a mentor. Do you have a mentor? I'm actually in the process right now of finding a mentor, someone who's further down the road than you on something that you want to get to. And it doesn't have to be even in the business area that you're in. You might even have a mentor who's not an entrepreneur. I would think it would be better if you had one that's in entrepreneurship, but maybe you don't have a person in mind that can be that. So maybe it's another person that's retired, or maybe they have a job, but they have the ability to believe in themselves and they know how to, call forth success in themselves, and they're not struggling with imposter syndrome. Lock them in as your mentor. We all need somebody who's ahead of where we are, who can help to get us there, who can encourage us and show us, hey, something different is possible than where I'm stuck right now. So get yourself a mentor. It doesn't have to be somebody that you talk to all the time. It just needs to be somebody, maybe just lock in once a month. Maybe it's every 2 weeks. Maybe it's just ad hoc whenever it's needed. But make sure you have a mentor, somebody that you can talk to about your imposter syndrome. The second one, the symptom or the mental health struggles that you're exhausted from working too much, which has led to physical fatigue, emotional fatigue, and that's going to lower your performance. We call that burnout. We think I just got to grind. I'll sleep when I'm dead and I'm just going to grind. All I know is grinding. I don't even use that word, grinding. First of all, that's counter to my work personality. I don't want to work like that. Like, I don't mind working hard to in a way, but I like to prefer to work smart, as they say. But just working and not having balance, that's going to make you hate your life or hate the work that you're doing. And it's going to burn you out. And the thing is, as an entrepreneur, you can't afford to burn yourself out because you're all you've got. Even if you have a team, they're looking to you for leadership. So don't burn yourself out just working, not giving yourself those outlets for something different. Life does not revolve around work. There will always be more money to be made, always be more clients to find, more products to sell. That never ends. But if you tear down your health, if you tear down your well-being, then you won't be there to do any of it. We don't want that to happen. So instead of burning yourself out, I want you to set some boundaries. This is hard for entrepreneurs, but I want you to have some specific work hours and stick to them. Rest and a personal life is as important to your entrepreneurial journey as the work of your business. And I know sometimes we see our personal life as separate, or like I said, I'll work when I'm dead, or I'll sleep when I'm dead. You'll be dead sooner and you won't enjoy the journey before you get to that. You need to rest. Rest is not just this thing you do when you feel like you deserve it. It is not a reward for hard work. Rest is not a reward for hard work. It is a necessary input. You have to have your sleep. You have to have your mental bandwidth in order to do more work. So don't see rest or exercise. I'm going to talk about prioritizing self-care. Don't see those things as this, I don't have time for them. You don't have time not to do them. Instead of seeing them as I do this outside of my work hours, make regular exercise, healthy eating, and getting your sleep a part of your daily routine that you see as a part of your job. Or of your business. So I don't see the exercise and the mindset work that I do in the morning as what I do before my workday. It is the start of my workday. Getting my body and my mind ready is a part of the workday. And it's going to make you be more productive and efficient when you're in the middle of the work, because you'll be in a better place mentally, physically, and emotionally. You're going to get more done in less time when you treat yourself right and prioritize self-care. And then, this is a hard one, especially for my solopreneurs out there. Right now, I'm a solopreneur in my coaching and speaking business. But I've had a virtual assistant before, and it was a game changer. I'm going to get one again. Don't try to do everything yourself. Don't try to do everything yourself. Don't you do it. Hire help. I can't afford it. You can't afford not to have it. You have to get help. And I talk about this when I'm coaching my business startup clients. You have to get help before you think you can afford it, or you will never be able to afford it. If you think you can't afford to pay somebody to take this stuff off your plate, but you know you need the stuff taken off your plate so that you can scale, you got to beg, borrow, and steal to get that money. Maybe I'll do an episode about that, about the things you can do to get resourceful, to find ways to get what you want. You won't be able to burn yourself out and then all of a sudden money's just going to drop out the sky. Then you can hire a team. You have to hire a team and get help before you think you can afford it. Okay, I'm off that soapbox. Also, you can use automation to lighten the load. I'm in the process of planning some trainings about how to automate your business, things that can be being done behind the scenes, ways that you can work. So it's not all on you. You can't do everything just because you want to, or just because you're a solopreneur. All of those things that you're doing right now that's leading to your burnout, you got to stop. It's not going to render, I just burn out for a while, then I'll get it done. No, you won't. What you'll end up is out of business. What you'll end up is in the hospital. What you'll end up is with a severe mental health crisis, a nervous breakdown. You can't do everything yourself. Delegate, prioritize self-care, and set some boundaries. Have work hours, and then shut it down. Treat your company like a job, in that the work ends when it works. Now, do I know that entrepreneurial hours can vary and things? Yes, but some of that happens because you don't set boundaries. So your clients shouldn't be calling you at all hours. They'll be all right. Don't leave your success in the hands of one person. Well, if I don't respond to them, they'll go somewhere else. Let them go. You want the clients that respect boundaries, right? So work hours, personal hours, set them and respect them. Okay. The next one is isolation or loneliness. You're working long hours. You don't have a supportive community, and can lead to feelings of loneliness and social disconnection. Being an entrepreneur is lonely. It's a lonely journey. And it's not just because you might be, working from home. Like, I'm running my businesses from home, because some entrepreneurs may be working in a co-working space. They may have an office with a small team. The isolation doesn't just come from physical isolation, working by yourself. It also comes from the fact that the majority of the people in any person's world, or most people's world, are not entrepreneurs. Most of the people in your family or in your friend circle, especially when you're starting out, they're not entrepreneurs. You know people who are like you. You used to work a job. Or even if you've been an entrepreneur for a while, the majority of people have jobs. So the odds are that your friends will have jobs, and that's okay. But they're not going to understand that entrepreneurial journey. They might, in an effort to not want to see you suffer, want to support you, let you off the hook, or make things easy for you, why don't you just go back and get a job? Well, quit all that stuff with that business. They mean well. This can come from family, friends, whoever. You need people that understand, no, we're going to get after this. Because entrepreneurship, that's a different type of mentality. That's a different type of mindset from a job mindset. Not one is not better than the other. Just depends on how you're wired. It's insane to be like, oh, there's nothing there. Let me create something from nothing. That's what entrepreneurs do. We create the things, right? And so we think different. We need to be around people that understand that. And a lot of times we're not. So it can be very isolating. So some of the things that you can do to combat the isolation and the loneliness is to, first of all, join some type of mastermind group. Now, the mastermind group could be some kind of paid coaching scenario. I would highly recommend that. I do that kind of work. I've been in masterminds. I've been in coaching programs. That community was worth every dime I paid. The coaching from the actual coach and their team, that's fine too. The community, the lifelong relationships from people that understand and get it, priceless. I would pay it 5 times over to have those communities at my disposal. You can also join communities that aren't necessarily paid, but just being in spaces where there are other entrepreneurs. Now, be careful that you're not in a space that has a lack mentality or a struggle mentality where they're always complaining or asking somebody for something versus pouring in. So there are some entrepreneurial, like Facebook groups that I'm in, I've had to unfollow or even leave because the energy was not one of growth and uplifting. It was of, I need this. I don't know what to do with this. And everybody just promoting themselves, but they're not trying to pour into each other. That's not the kind of mastermind you need to be in or group you need to be in for this particular mental health struggle. You need to be in a space where people can provide support, feedback, and a sense of belonging amongst people who get what you're doing. You also need to schedule social time. I am blessed in this season of my life to have an amazing friendship circle. that is growing and evolving every single day. And I'm so grateful for my friends. We get together, we cut up, we laugh, we do therapy, we go out, we experience, things in the community, we have outings, whatever that is. Schedule that time, put it on your calendar. Again, this is a necessary input of doing well in your business. Don't see it as, I don't have time for that. We talk about the sacrifices that you have to make as an entrepreneur, and there are many. There are things you won't be able to do. There are places you won't be able to go while you're building your business. But don't make your social interaction with your uplifting friends be a part of those things you sacrifice. You need to be in a good mental and emotional headspace to succeed as an entrepreneur. And part of that's going to come from your social circle. I just had a girls' night the other night. So uplifting, so amazing. I loved it. We sat up half the night, and it was great. And I felt rejuvenated and revived after that. Schedule that time. This is not outside. It is a necessary input. If you don't get anything else from this episode, just know that what you do for your social health, for your physical and mental and emotional health, that has to do with socializing with other people and taking care of yourself, it is an input to your business. So if you can shift your mentality to not see it as, I got to find time to do it, and just put it on the to-do list with all the client calls and the emails and all that, but put it first. If you could just take away only that, it would be worth the time you spent watching this episode. Taking care of you is not extra. It is necessary, or you will not succeed long-term. And then, this is another one of my favorite things right now. Collaboration. First of all, I firmly believe that I do not have any competition in the world. I met a young lady just yesterday who we were talking, and she was doing some things coming up in marketing. And I was like, I'm literally thinking about doing that exact same thing. She was like, let's have coffee. I thought, there's no competition. She can't possibly help every single person that needs help with marketing in the world. There's 8 billion people. I can't either. Let's collaborate. Let's do some workshops together. Let's do some co-branding. Let's do some a bunch of stuff. Today, one of the secrets of success is collaborating. Let somebody else push your brand forward as you push their brand forward. Let's not be doing this stuff alone. Okay? That's not sexy. That's not a flex to say I did it all on my own. If I hear somebody say I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, I did this on my own, I judge that. I'm like, that's not a flex. That shows that there's something wrong with you. Why are you like that? Collaboration is where it's at, because you can't do everything yourself. You might think you can, but you can't. Collaborate on projects. Collaborate on initiatives. This will help to combat the isolation and help you to build relationships with people. Be more trusting than distrusting. Now, obviously, you have to use discernment. You don't want to give away the keys to the kingdom to somebody who can't be trusted. We're not talking about that. But collaborating, when you're both coming to the table with something and you're having an intelligent conversation, you can tell the difference between somebody trying to get you on and somebody who's trustworthy. It's about building relationships and working with your network to, they say, what's that saying? When the water rises, all ships rise. I collaborate with you. If I'm doing well, you're doing well. We just all doing well. And that's the way it is. Collaboration, scheduling your social time, and joining a mastermind group. This is going to help you with that isolation and that loneliness. And I didn't realize that I took my words off of the screen, but that's okay. We're going to move on. Now we're going to talk about anxiety. Remember at the beginning, I said, these are not unique to entrepreneurs, although we may experience them with some different nuances than other people. Anxiety is common today, but for an entrepreneur, that constant stress over, where's the money coming from? I don't have enough cash flowing. We got deadlines. And where am I going to get clients? How am I going to manage my clients? And just uncertainty in general, that can trigger having chronic feeling of anxiety. And I heard a description of anxiety where you always have that heightened feeling of fear that you have when you're in a negative situation or when you're in a dangerous situation, but you have it at times when you're not necessarily in danger. That's how anxiety can feel to a lot of people. That is crippling. It can stop you from doing all the things you want to do in your business, all the places you want to go in your world, in your business world. You won't be able to go if you have anxiety as a weight around your ankles. Those deadlines are never going to end. You have to have a balanced perspective. It's never all going to get done. There's always going to be something with cash flow. Even people that are doing well in their business, like maybe they're making 6-7 figures. From the stories I hear from those individuals, they risk more when they go out to do whatever it is that they're doing. So yes, $1 million is great, but if you have $800,000 worth of expenses because you have a big team, or you're paying for advertising, or you're hosting a big event, maybe you have a big conference and you had to put down $400,000. That's still scary just because you have $1 million, but you putting almost half of it. Like, so don't think that cash flow and all these other issues are going to go away just because you do better in your business. So find a way to manage them now is going to be immeasurably beneficial to you. Breaking tasks into smaller steps. When things get overwhelming, and I get it, it's so tempting because we know entrepreneurs are really good at seeing a vision in the future, right? And seeing where we want to go. And we can sometimes we get inspired by that, but then we get overwhelmed because there's all these things. I'm a project manager and I'm an event producer. And so, which event production is a subset of project management. So it's creating all these things and all these moving parts, thousands of steps and things, dots, as you have to dot and T's you have to cross. And I live for it and I love it. But if I just looked at the big picture all the time, it would be overwhelming. I have to break it down. What do I need to do this month, this week, this day to get me to that thing in 5 months, right? What do I have? What can I manage just in the here and now? You write the whole vision out and then just focus on what's in front of you. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow, as the Bible verse says, tomorrow's going to have enough trouble for itself. Sufficient for today is its own trouble. So break it down into smaller tasks and just work on the task that's in front of you today. One of my tasks for the day is to prepare for and present this amazing live stream podcast episode. I can't worry about what I'm doing on Thursday. Today's Monday. Not going to worry about it. This is what I'm doing for today. Break it down into smaller tasks. And then also to help with anxiety is to practice mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing, grounding. It was so funny. My mother said something to me about grounding yesterday. The way she described it, she didn't use the word grounding. She said something else. But it was so interesting to hear her talk about how grounding, being barefoot on the earth, is healing. It sends that electricity through your body and heals. It can heal illness. It can certainly calm your mind and center you and focus you. That's a way to manage anxiety in the moment. Learn how to breathe. Most of us don't know how to breathe. We're just sipping air, gasping for air, but just sitting in through the nostrils, out through the mouth, breathing in your nostrils, holding it for a certain count, breathing out, all of that. There's a lot of this information on YouTube, on the internet. You can find it. It's about setting the intention that you want to do these things to be able to manage your anxiety. Take the time to do that because there's never going to be an end to all the competing demands of entrepreneurship. It's not like a job where you can just put it in a briefcase and walk away. You are the briefcase. You're a living briefcase when you are an entrepreneur. So it can be more challenging, like I said a little while ago, with those boundaries to set those boundaries of when you're going to work and when you're not. So just know it's never going to be into what's coming at you. How you manage it is what's going to be key. And then one of the greatest ways to manage anxiety is to plan for uncertainty. Have a contingency plan for worst case scenarios. That's going to help you to not have that fear of the unknown. We usually fear what we don't know, what we think is coming. Usually if we think it through and come up with a few plans of what we would do if this happened, what would we do if that happened, then we don't have to have that angst and that feeling like everything has to go well. If you've already taken time to think through, like if I'm planning one of my events, well, what if so-and-so doesn't show up? What will I do? Oh, I've already asked somebody, can you be my backup person in case they don't show up? Just having that plan in place. You still want so-and-so to show up, but if they don't, you've already thought through in advance what you'll do. You don't have to be in fear and anxious about somebody not showing up. You still prefer that they do, but you have a plan. That can work in anything. Have a contingency plan. What will you do if things break? What will you do to make sure things don't break? Having those plans in advance is going to help you a lot with anxiety. The next one is, it's common today. It's like anxiety is depression. The emotional toll of having setbacks and financial stress, feeling like you're not progressing, that can lead to depression. I have lived it. I've lived it recently. I've had recent times, and it's ongoing, right? There's not this great epiphany that successful entrepreneurs have and they no longer struggle with mental health. They may not want to talk about it, but it can be daily that you have to know how to manage your mind. That's why mindset exercises, mindset strategies are so important, because they're going to pull you back from the brink. There are times when you don't want to get out of bed. There's times when you don't want to talk about it. There are times when you don't see a way out, when you don't see a way forward, when you have confusion, when you're struggling in your finances. I've been there where you don't want to get out of bed. I had a moment, was it this week? Last week, I didn't want to get out of bed at one point. But I knew what to do. I knew who to reach out to. I knew what to do to pull myself back. But it's going to happen again. It's not about keeping these mental health struggles from popping up. It's about what do you do to manage them when they do pop up. Accept that they're going to pop up. And don't think it's a failure. I should say this at the beginning. You're not a failure when you have these mental health struggles. They are normal. If you say you don't have any and you're an entrepreneur, I would just flat out think you're not telling the truth. That's just me. Because I think we all, as human beings, struggle with things with our mental health. It's just a matter of how long and how much do we struggle. And do we get back on course quickly, or does it take us all the way down? Do we have to have medication? Do we have to have inpatient? Do we have to go to therapy? Or are we able to pull ourselves back? Whatever that is. But I think everybody has some type of mental health challenge on some level. And we have to be honest about it and be willing to move forward from it. But with depression, and this is my disclaimer for this entire episode, is to seek professional help. You don't have to wait until things implode to get help. I go to my therapist right now. There's literally nothing wrong that I need to talk to my therapist about. I mean, a lot of the stuff that happened in my life, it happens in between times, and I'm okay. So by the time I get back to her at another appointment, I've already overcome it or managed it and moved forward. She's just hearing about it after the fact, right? But so it's for maintenance. I go to a therapist every week so that there's not long stretches of time where life is getting the best of me and then I have a nervous breakdown. Then I got to find a therapist. That's not going to happen because I'm going all the time. I'm going for maintenance, like an oil change, right? Get you some professional help. But if you are struggling with depression, it's chronic, or it's not. It might be situational. Things take you down. There's nothing wrong with getting help, especially to my Black females. Strong Black woman is a caricature, and it is destroying us. It is destroying. There's no other group where they say strong Hispanic women, strong white women, strong, not saying that none of those women are strong, but I'm talking about the label, strong Black woman, strong single mother. I don't want that one either. I have my areas of strength. I have my areas of challenge, because that caricature, that label, when it's put on you, it takes away your willingness sometimes, or your having a space for you to not be strong. Don't call me strong. Don't call me that. You can say I did something that showed strength, but don't use that label. That's not a flex. That's not a badge of honor, right? Get some professional help. And if there's any Black men or any men, it ain't even just about Black people, but that's a group that often, of course, I have a burden for. But anybody, get some help. Men, women, young people, get professional help. And then having a routine that can also help you with depression. Sometimes you struggle to get moving, get out of the bed or shift to something else because you don't really know what you're going to do. When you have a routine, you already know what the first step is. You can count it down like Mel Robbins says on her podcast, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just do it. But if you don't have a routine, you don't know what you're going to do when you hit 1. So you just stay stuck. Get you a routine that's going to make you feel normal. That's going to make you have a purpose. For me, one of my persistent purpose is to record this podcast on Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So on Mondays, I'm kind of pumped. Like, let me go out here and talk to my people. I don't know who's watching. I don't know any of it. But let me get out here and talk to my people on Monday. That gives me a purpose for what to do on Monday morning. Part of what I do on Monday mornings is prepare to do this. Having a routine. It happens. I don't just randomly go live. I go live at the same time every week. And on that day, the same time. Routine. When do you exercise? When do you cook? When do you shop? When do you go out with friends? When do you pay? All the things. Have a routine. Because your job, if you have a job, it gives you routine because they tell you when to work. But you need to have routine for your entire life. Doesn't mean there's no flexibility, but it gives you something to shoot for. And then for depression, celebrate small wins, incremental progress. You got to do it. Don't wait till you get till you get to your end goal to celebrate, because you're not going to be able to get there. You got to stay motivated along the way. Celebrate along the way as you're moving out of that depression. Every small win. I got up and put on clothes today. If let's say you've been struggling to even get out of bed, or, to get certain projects done, I was able to turn on my laptop and I worked for 30 minutes. If you've not been doing anything, then doing that 30 minutes is something to celebrate. It don't have to be, I wait till I do a whole day. Why do we keep moving the bar? It's always got to be more than what I'm doing now before I give myself a Scooby snack. Give yourself a Scooby snack now. You see how them Scoobies, you remember that show Scooby-Doo? How they would give them Scooby snacks to motivate them to go into the scary, motivate them the lure for the trap for the ghost. They gave them the snacks beforehand, and that motivated them to do the thing. Give yourself a Scooby snack. Okay, so that's depression. We're getting close to the end. The next one is fear of failure. Your fear of making the wrong decision or failing. It can actually paralyze you and lead you to doing nothing. But the only real failure is in doing nothing. If your goal is A, B, and C, and you stay stuck at the beginning, you don't even go to A, let alone B or C, because you're scared. You don't know, should I do B first? Maybe it's better than A. Fear of making the wrong decision is the wrong decision. Letting it stop you, rather. Letting the fear of making a wrong decision stop you is automatically the wrong decision. I like to say that there are no wrong decisions. They're just lessons. There's things you could make a different decision, maybe a better outcome, but ultimately the decision you make is the best one you could have made with where you were at the time. So why beat yourself up? Just go ahead and say, hey, what did I learn from it? Reframe failure as feedback, and it's a part of the learning process rather than a personal flaw. I am learning not to take things when they don't go well, not to take them personal. They don't reflect on me. They just reflect on something I didn't know, and now I know it. Why would I beat myself up? And again, go back to treating yourself like a friend. What would you tell your friend if they were beating themselves up about something that they failed at? What would you tell them? You'd be like, girl, that's fine. You're doing great. Why can't we hype ourselves up? Don't wait for somebody else to hype you up. Hype yourself up. Reframe failure as just a lesson and say, hey, I learned something new. Take calculated risk. This can also help with the fear of failure. Approach your decisions by doing research and planning, which is going to manage your risk and build confidence. Now, don't let the research and planning be a place you hide and get stuck. If you want to start a business and you still 6 months in researching and planning, no, ma'am. People have written business plans in a weekend. You can research. You can use AI technology to help you. You can do things lightning fast now. So don't allow preparing and trying to combat a fear of failure to be a place where you actually hide in fear. Okay. Be really careful with that. But it's okay to have a plan and say, this is what I'm going to do. These are the things I want to lay out. Again, as a project manager, as an event producer, I often am, taking calculated risks and saying, this is what I'll do. This is what the end's going to look like. This is what it's going to look like along the way. That's fine. Calculated risk is going to help you to keep you from letting fear of failure stop you, right? And then surround yourself with support. Who's in your ear? Having a network of supportive peers and mentors can provide encouragement for when fear pops up. Who's in your ear? Don't listen to somebody who's always going to be shooting something down, or who's negative, or who isn't shooting for things in their life. They might not be necessarily negative, but if they're not pushing you, there's no neutrality in life. You're either going forward or back. It's either heads or tails. Everything has two sides. And if someone's not pushing you forward, they're holding you back, even if it doesn't seem like they're doing anything. So be around the right type of support system, not somebody that's just a yes person that just applauds everything you do, but providing support with peers and mentors. They're going to give you those questions to help you know what to think about. But make sure you have people that want you to succeed, because they are succeeding and they know what that space looks like. Be careful who you surround yourself with, because fear of failure can be exacerbated or made worse when you have the wrong people in your ear. Take calculated risks, and again, reframe your failures as lessons. I never lose. I've got to the point where I don't really lose, because I always just say, I just learned what not to do next time. And you can do that. You get to decide what you believe. So if you believe that failure doesn't exist, it's just lessons, Eventually, if you reinforce that by saying it and by acting on that belief, it will become natural to you. At first, it may seem weird because, like, I don't really believe that. After a while, you will believe it. Okay. Fear of failure. You can combat this. And then the last one, I know this is a long episode, but I wanted to get this out because this is so, so important, is perfectionism. This is one I've struggled with. Your constant need for things to be just right can lead to procrastination and frustration. So you want the program to be just right, so you never start doing any of it. You don't reach out. You don't start marketing yourself because it's got to be perfect before I start. It's never going to be perfect until you test it in the market. You don't know what perfect is until you do the whole cycle. Try something, put it out there, see what the people say. Well, we don't, sometimes we as entrepreneurs, we don't want that feedback. But when you want things to be perfect to the point where it stops you from moving forward, you're failing, right? You are learning a lesson, but if you don't recalibrate and come back and go ahead and get that stuff out there instead of waiting on perfectionism or perfection, that is a type of failure. Set realistic goals. Sometimes you're journeying toward this idea of perfection because you have set an unrealistic goal. This thing, when it comes out the gate, it's got to sell 100,000 copies in the first hour and have 5-star ratings across the board on the internet, whatever the unrealistic goal is. And so that's why you seek perfection. What you really are is trying to achieve something that's not really achievable at the level where you're at. Set smaller, achievable goals and then break it into tasks that you can work towards and achieve a type of perfection. So we're not talking about perfection like you don't make mistakes, but being perfect in the effort that you put forward because you are constantly moving forward. That's where your perfection can be, not in there's no mistakes made, but in that I'm constantly moving forward. Give yourself reasonable deadlines that you can actually achieve so that you can get those wins and pat yourself on the back. I want you to embrace the good enough mentality. Ooh, progress is more important than perfection. Getting something done is more important than doing it perfectly, because doing it perfectly, when we talked about doing it right the first time, that cliche needs to be thrown into the garbage. You can't do it right the first time. If you happen to get it right the first time, it's not because of it's not because of what you did. It's just because the chances were that you get it, that it would be done right, and you did. But you can't know what right is until you actually experience something. If you're doing it for the first time, you don't know. So you're learning, and that's okay. Progress is more important than getting it perfect. I see so many people out here. Some of it's, I'm out here in this marketplace. People are putting some stuff out here. I hate to call it trash. Some people are putting some trash out there and they're misleading people. But there are people who don't have half the skills that I see in people, some of my peers, or even in myself sometimes, but they're doing it. They're out there. Maybe they'll learn along the way and they'll get better at it. But they're lapping everybody who's not trying. They're lapping everybody who's sitting there waiting on perfection or who's criticizing them because they're out there putting it out there into the marketplace. So embrace the fact that good enough is good enough. Go ahead and get it out there. You can always perfect it over time, but getting started, that can be the hardest part. But you can do it if you just go ahead and give yourself a break. And then finally, outsourcing. Trust other people to handle parts of your business so you can focus on other things. Focus on what you are, what your strengths are, what you are the best at, and delegate out the rest or outsource the rest. Does that come with a cost? Oftentimes it does. You get what you pay for. Find a way to invest in the best. But the longer you're spending on things that you're not good at, tasks that slow you down, you're losing more than you would ever spend on getting someone else who's an expert in that to do it for you. The perfectionism, that's going to be our 7th mental health struggle that our entrepreneurs often struggle silently with. Hopefully you've gotten some strategies today that you can use to move forward in your business and to combat these mental health difficulties. Again, remember I told you, these mental health struggles are not abnormal. They are not only normal, they are expected. I'd almost say they're a necessary part of processing just because of what you're doing. You're building something from nothing. If you told me you didn't have any struggles, I would think you were not being honest about it. It's okay. It's expected to have some mental health struggles. It's what you do to pull yourself back from them that makes the difference about whether it's going to hold you back or whether you're going to overcome and move forward. This has been Persistent Purpose with MJ Hunter. I am your host, Coach MJ. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of your mental health, your emotional health, your physical health, your social health, your financial health, all of the health. Take care of yourself because all of them are necessary inputs into the success of your business. Until next time, take care and be blessed. Bye.